Hey everyone, good evening. It's a Thursday night here in the shop. The shop is closed and we're going to do some repairs tonight. I've got a few here to work on. I've got a BG55 that needs a recoil, a 250C with an oiling issue. We're going to work on this one tonight. I've got a 170 that won't, or this one has a bar and chain issue, a 271 that won't start, a 170 that won't shut off, a 271 with a clutch issue, and an MS290 that won't start. So we'll start here. I'll meet you over at the workbench. This is the curved shaft edition. Welcome back to my workbench. Today on the bench we have the Stihl MS250C, and the customer says that it's not oiling properly. Let's find out why. So this saw belongs to a man who builds log homes. He owns many saws, little saws, big saws. He owns 661s. This is his favorite saw out of all of them. This saw has built many, many homes. He likes the easy starter on this chainsaw, and he likes the easy adjuster. This saw is not M-tronic, so I can't plug it in for data, but I would imagine if I could, that we would find this saw has an incredible amount of hours and starts on it. Okay, so this saw is only here for an oiling issue, but while I have it on my bench, I'll just give you a quick walk around on it, show you its features, and then we're going to pull the bar and chain off of it. So you have MS250s and you have MS250Cs. So this saw has a starter that you pull out slow. It's very, very easy to start. I will show you this later on over by the door. And this saw does not have the bar nuts that you're used to seeing. It has just this big toolless chain adjuster. This is basically like one big bar nut. To help with starting, this saw also has a purge pump. Purging this helps get the air out of the fuel line. The C after 250, I think that's German for comfort. Maybe in German the word comfort starts with a C. I'm not really sure. Maybe someone on here knows. I'm told that C stands for comfort, and in this saw, the comfort would be the easy start. For example, an MS261C, the comfort would be the decompression valve that they have. I could be wrong about my theory on the C. Still's pretty tight-lipped about this, but I think that's what C stands for. I get asked a lot out in the showroom about like what these numbers mean. Like, is a 250C a 25cc saw? No, it's not a 50cc. The 250 has nothing to do with the cc of this chainsaw or any of Still's chainsaws. I've tried to figure out what exactly these numbers mean. I thought maybe if it starts with a 2, it means professional, because a 261, a 241, but a 251 is not a professional saw. There's only so much time in life. I haven't figured it out yet. So before we pull the bar and chain off this, I'll pull this cover off. I'll show you the air filter. and then we'll carry on. This guy is very good with maintenance and keeping his saws clean. So the air filter on this, or the air filter cover, you just turn that to the left, pull that cover off. Oh my, come on. I can't leave that like that. It's not here for this, but I just can't do it. Yeah, we'll clean this up since we're already here. So take these filters off. You can fight them off. You can pry them off, or put your thumbs there, fingers there, and just pull towards you. There you go. Yeah, we'll give that a good cleaning. I just gave this saw a blowing off with air. This here is the summer winter shutter. So there's a little picture of the sun. So it's on summer right now. This just pulls off. And then in the winter, so you see the snowflake. And then that lets warm air near the carburetor. A lot of customers don't know what this is, don't even know it's here, probably never move it. Let's pull the plug out and just have a quick look down into the cylinder. This thing has a ton of hours on it, so I'm curious to look down in there. Spark plug's a bit fouled, tan colored. Could be the original plug. It's not here for an issue like this. We're just taking a quick look. Let's have a look down there. Put his air filter back on. I blew it off. He probably could use a new one. I'll let him know that when he picks it up. Put the shutter back in. I'm going to pull a bar and chain off this. So that there is instead of the tensioning screw on other saws. Loosen that off. And there's the cover off. Bar and chain off. So the bar oil would come out right there. I do see bar oil, wet sawdust. Let's check and see if there's bar oil in it. Check the simple things first. Lots of bar oil. So we're going to go over and start this saw and see if it oils with the bar and chain off of it. So here's the bar here. There's the hole the bar oil would go in from the saw. and it is not plugged. The saw is not oiling. So we definitely have an oiling issue here of some sort. This is loud and loose. We're going to pull this all off and have a look in behind here. Okay, we'll go ahead and pull the clutch off this. So there's the oil pump right there. This is the oil pump driver. It fits into that notch, and it was in there. So when I turn this, you can see the oil pump turning. So the oil pump is working. Maybe there's dirt or something in the lines. The mechanical parts of the oil pump are all functioning. So next thing I have to do here is get all the bar oil out of this saw. I'm going to dump it into a container. So I've drained the bar oil out of the tank. And here's a look. It's a little bit hard to see, but there is lots of dirt and sawdust and stuff down the bottom. I have a feeling I know what's happening here. There is a filter in there. On the right, look down in there, and on the right hand side, you see that little whitish colored. There it is. So that is the bar oil filter. It's not super fine, and I think that's so that, you know, in super cold weather, all the bar oil, when it's thick, has to be able to pass through it. Here's what one looks like. Being that this is a homeowner grade saw, the oil pump is trickier to get to. On a professional saw, they're quite a bit easier. So to access this oil pump, we're going to have to remove this handle in order to gain access to it. Well, let's get to it. The first thing I'm going to do here is put some gasoline in the bar oil reservoir, shake it up. I want to get all the dirt and sawdust and bar oil and everything out of there. So let's start with that. So I put fuel in the oil tank, shook it around, dumped it out. I did that a few times. There was quite a lot of buildup in the bottom of the tank. It was in there pretty good, compacted. So here is my fuel. Quite a bit of stuff floating in that tank. So this could be the line plugged up, but there's one other thing we should look at before we go taking the handle off this saw, and that is the tank vent, which is right there. We need to see if that tank vent's working. In previous videos, particularly a video about a MS462, we talked pretty in depth about these oil tank vents. So there's the oil tank vent right there. This vent sucks air in that little hole, and then it puts oil out right here. So oil's coming out, air's going in. If air's not going in, then oil won't be coming out. So before we tear the handle off this and go too deep, these are inexpensive, and I keep them on the shelf here. So we're going to pop a new vent in and see if that solves this problem. And if it doesn't, we're going to go deeper. Let's put a new vent in. These vents can suck little bits of dust and dirt in that hole, and it gets trapped in that vent and doesn't work properly. You don't take these vents apart to clean them. We're just going to go ahead and replace this. So I'm looking down in the oil tank right now. You see that shiny round hole? That is the back of the tank vent. Looking through the tank. So we're going to punch this vent out from the back. I've got a 3/16 punch. I've got my swing press. Let's punch that vent out. Okay, there it is. There's our new tank vent. There's a new vent punched in there. I'm going to put the clutch back together. We'll put some bar oil back in it, and then we'll go over to the door and test it. Clutch is all back together. We'll put some bar oil in it, and hopefully this resolves our problem. Okay, let's go over to the door. Fingers crossed. Unfortunately, the saw is still not oiling. Okay, so we got to go deeper. Handle's coming off. The clutch is coming off again. Taking this off. I don't like sticking myself with those. And the handle's coming off. So 1, 2, 3 of these plugs. And then behind them is T27s. So with the handle off, we can get a much better look here now. There's the oil tank. Oil line runs through there and then up to the pump. T27. Just going to pry that fitting out of there carefully. I don't want to break it. There's the oil line there that runs to the tank. I'm going to pull that out of there. So I'm just going to pry this out, get my hands on it. I just don't want to poke a hole in it. And there's the filter on the end of it. And now I'm going to pull the oil pump out, which is right there. So I have a special tool from Stihl to take this pump out. If you don't have that tool, before you take that out, you're going to want to measure how far down that pump is, so that when you put it back in, you put it back in the same place. There's the other side of it and the gear. This gear meshes with the driver, and this all lines up with the way this oils. This also has a marking on the case here. When you're putting it back in, it has to be a certain orientation. So the tool I have to do this, I'll give you the part number here. You can probably get them other places, but I got it from Stihl, and there it is. This tool comes with lots of adapters for different saws. And this doesn't fit all saws, this just fits some saws. I need 2 of those adapters to complete this job. This adapter to pull the pump, and this adapter to put the pump back in. It's kind of a funny looking tool, but I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm going to start with this adapter that has the threads on it, and I'm going to screw it in to the oil pump. Just like that. I'm going to turn it back a bit so that the gap in it is facing like that. And take my tool. This is going to go in the mounting hole right there. So just like that. And then it slides down into the adapter. And there's a pin here. The pin's going to go through the adapter once the holes are lined up. And then we're going to pull up on this and pull the pump out. There's the pump. I'll just unscrew the pump off the adapter tool. So this pump, tank's down here, line comes up, oil runs down here into that hole. Sometimes you'll take these off, and this here is just packed full of dirt and sawdust. This one's clean. There isn't a speck on it. So that's not the problem. So there's a hole down in there where the oil travels through. Just going to make sure that that's clear, that hole. Just going to spray some brake cleaner down through that hole to make sure that everything is clear. And it is. The next culprit is this line and filter. Maybe there's a blockage. There's your filter. So here's looking in that line. I've already sprayed through this once, and a bunch of stuff did come out. And there is more in there. Here's the oil filter. I broke it so I could have a look inside of it and look at the chunks of stuff inside there. This was in the line and I just pushed it back into the filter. So this probably is what's causing the problem here, is just the lines are plugged up with dirt. So I've cleaned this line out well. You could replace this line, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it other than it was just full of sawdust. So that's been all cleaned up. I don't think there's anything wrong with the pump. And we got another oil filter. We'll start putting this back together. Let's put the pump back in. So you see the slot in the pump. There's a picture there that shows the slot, so just follow the picture. Let's press our oil pump back in place. So I've got the other adapter on, which has no threads. So that goes in there. And this will push it in exactly how far it's supposed to go. Just like that. So that pushes it in about 6 millimeters. Let's reinstall the oil line and filter. Put the fitting back in and the screw. I blew through this, there was nothing in it. Okay, so that's all back together. Start putting the handles back on. Just like that, back together. Oil's in it. Let's go try it again. Bar and chain are back on. Let's go outside one more time. Make sure it's oiling well with the bar and chain on. I'll see you out there. Okay, so the Stihl MS250 that's here for an oiling issue is now oiling again. So it turns out that the pickup line was plugged with shavings and debris. Early on, I did replace the tank vent for the oil. It's very quick and easy to replace that, so I want to try it before I took this whole saw apart. It wasn't the problem. That's okay. I'll pay for that part. Those vents can be tested, but on this saw, to test that vent, the handle has to come off anyways. So it was worth a try. I think the case is closed on the MS250. I have lots of chainsaws waiting to be worked on. Let's get to them. Thank you so much for watching.